1994, 10 years after you won gold at the Olympics, you decided to compete in the Olympics again. You were professional skaters, so technically it shouldn't have been allowed, but you'd heard of a rule change in 1992 which made them eligible if you dropped your professional status. Why did you do this? Why risk the unassailable reputation that you had to go back into the Olympic arena?
Because of skating, because of the challenge. It was sort of a measure for us of were we still vital and competitive and could we do it?
Torvill and Dean made an Olympic comeback, but it didn't go according to plan. The return from the professional circuit back into amateur competition resulted in just a bronze medal amidst a sea of controversy.
I have no doubt that they should have won the gold, but I believe there was a feeling in some parts of the sport that didn't want them to win because you shouldn't be allowed to be jetted back into the middle of it and win.
It was hard to see this couple that had so dominated this sport because of them feeling let down by it.
After more professional tours, they decided to split up, stop skating and go their separate ways.
There were only 3 or 4 of us that knew that that was going to be the last performance.
Chris moved to Colorado with his second wife, Jill.
He did just up and go, left friends, family, and Jane. That was a big void for Chris. They did call each other, and they called each other a lot, at least a couple of times a day. I don't know whether you would say that Chris was depressed during that time. I think he was very lonely. He needs something to aim at. He needs that drive and that competition.
And that competition was to present itself in an unlikely way.
We approached Jane and Chris with the idea of dancing on ice, and I think they were quite sceptical because it was a huge thing for them to undertake.
The first series of Dancing on Ice hit our screens in 2006, and Jane and Chris were reunited for the first time in nearly a decade.
I can't even imagine the pressure they must have felt with it being their comeback and with having to do new routines.
Oh my goodness, they're back. Are they going to be as good as they were? Have they still got it?
Expectation was really, really high, so the pressure was quite immense.
Stepping back onto the ice, it's Torvill and Dean!
To actually take that risk and have the guts to go and almost put your credibility at risk, I think took a lot.
The fears were unfounded. The opening show was watched by millions.
The morning after the first show, when we got the viewing figures in, and they were over 11 million, it was amazing.
It thrust ice skating into mainstream here in the UK.
Millions of people were going skating. Ice rinks were built on the back of the success of Dancing on Ice.
And the ice legends are still giving the young guns on the show a run for their money. Jane in particular.
She's gorgeous and she has an amazing body. And for a woman of 84, that's extraordinary.
However, for Chris, the pressure of being away from his family for most of the year took its toll, and he and Jill split up.
It was hard to project this figurehead to the nation, and then behind closed doors was very sad and very lonely.
I think I would defy any woman not to fall just a tiny bit in love with Chris when he's in his little boy lost mode.
With his marriage on the rocks, Chris turned to his friend and confidant, Dancing on Ice judge Karen Barber.
For me, you're one of the top runners. We're going to go all the way. Jane and I decided that one of us would stay. Chris was going through a hard time. One of us would stay and we would alternate. Jane having the children, I said, well, I only live locally. I can stay because obviously he needs company. We found ourselves in a similar situation. Chris's marriage had broken down and my marriage was not going well.
In March 2010, the story broke.
Honestly, I think it would have been absolutely awful to wake up in the morning and see your private life splashed over the paper.
It was awkward, but it brought up that conversation that kind of pushed us into the direction of, well, that's ridiculous. But is it ridiculous?
There's something about the ice, whether it's the fumes from the fake tan or whether, it's the amount of sequins, whatever it is, there's something about it that makes a human being rampant.
All I know now is that they're very happy together, and I'm really happy that they are.
There's so much that we have in common. And I think of it not as a relationship, but as a really long conversation, and I hope to be talking to him for years to come.
Is the ice skating down, please, Chris?
Philip's been doing it for the last 8 years as well.
Yeah. He is.
They're gonna say.
Rampant Schofield. Your second wife, another skater. You had 2 children with Jill. When you realised this marriage was ending as well, what did you feel about yourself?
Oh, it was horrible. Nobody wants to go through it. It's difficult, but it does happen. The wonderful thing is that I do have a good relationship with Jill, a really good relationship. And the boys do not suffer. I live just around the corner. So that's all good.
You've known Karen for 40 years. What on earth were you waiting for? Wouldn't it have been a lot easier if you just got together? 18-year-olds?
Timing's everything. I'm a different person from what I was 40 years ago. Now I'm a very mature, sensible, level-headed, right, chilled out, rampant ice skater.
Do you know about the back of the bus?
The dabble.
That might have been a...
Karen, did you know about the dabble? The dabble has been greeted with an okay.
I think dabbling is okay by the way.
Do you feel, Jane, that he's with the right person now?
Yes,
And that's not to denigrate either of his ex-wives, but just to...
No, I think he's happier now than he's been for a long time.
When you got the call asking to do Dancing on Ice, you'd broken up professionally for a while, and this was a big moment.
No, we'd broken up.
Go on.
We'd finished. Jane was going to have children, and I moved to America. Yeah, that was.
And you really both felt that was it?
That was it, yeah.
How did you feel about that when you made that?
At the time, it all seemed, this is what we're doing. But I think after a short space of time, it was like you'd rushed towards this wall and crashed, and it's like, oh, gosh, I didn't know it was going to be like this.
And the moment you were back on a rink together, national television, 11, 12 million viewers, huge hit. Must have felt like we're back.
I was very nervous, but when you actually go out and hear the audience, I thought, oh yeah, this is okay, because that's what we were used to.
We always have this moment just before we go. We hold hands and we squeeze and we look at each other. And
How long can you carry on skating realistically at a reasonably good level, do you think?
I think as long as we're enjoying it and as long as we feel fit enough to do it.
I don't think we're ever going to have a moment again where we're going to say, this is the
I
last
couldn't
one.
cope with that again. It's
Don't
too
think we'll
hard.
do that again.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody wants you to. It's been a real pleasure. You're two of the great sporting heroes of this country, and it's been a delight to get to know you both better, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.